So this next panel is actually the Hacking HR panel, and it's all very legal. I just want to point that out from the very beginning. Hacking HR actually stands for a global community of professionals from all walks of business that really, really want to build the best HR possible. And we also believe that the future of HR quite possibly be outside of HR as a function as we know it today. So we will have three amazing minds and hearts within the HR fields joining us today. So let's get comfortable. And we will actually have a conversation. So there's no script, there's just a lot of possibility, and we will allow the conversation to go wherever it will have to go. We will be talking about the HR flavor of agility and adaptability, and also what this new world of work really means, what it looks like, what it feels like, and how new it actually is. But before we dive deep into that, and we are now complete, I just want to check who was at the deep dive session earlier today. Just raise your hand. Wonderful.
A lot of people.
Did you enjoy it? Oof, okay, that might have gone either way. So let's make the most out of our time here today. And what I will do, I will just ask my colleagues to shortly introduce themselves, and I will finish up the intro round. And let's bring a little bit of the deep dive spirit. So just shortly introduce yourselves, and then what is the first word that comes to your mind when you hear about agility and adaptability in the new world of work? One word, and we will start that way and come all the way here. So Helder.
Okay, should I present myself?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you for the invitation to be here. So my name is Helder Figueiredo. I've been HR director for more than 25 years, both in Portugal and in other countries. I'm part of this HR hacking community and also Transformers, a community of HR people around the world who think and reflect about the trends in HR. One of my favorite word, I'm going to repeat the one, experience. That's my word for agility, experience. I will explain later about it.
Thank you. I will keep you honest to this promise. Chris.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm Chris Marshall. I'm not actually in HR, so I'm an interesting one on this panel. I was invited, by the way. I'm a behavioral scientist, futurist. I also have a role as a psychotherapist. I'm also the founder of the Playfulness Institute, which, yes, is a real thing. And at the Institute, we try and make a bridge between academic research on playfulness, adult playfulness, and how we can use that in an organizational setting, particularly around culture. Coming back to your one word, I'm just going to use the word flourishing. That's going to be the word I'm going to go with.
Thank you so very much. Bill.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bill Brown. I am the Chief People Officer of a company called Think People Culture. We're a fractional HR company. I also wrote a book called Don't Suck at Culture, which is out in a few days, and Don't Suck at Recruiting. And I love being able to help leaders visualize how they can be better to their employees and create better employee experiences and better candidate experiences. And for me, agility, the first word that comes to mind is flexibility, because in the day and age that we live in, it's important to be flexible with our employees and give them the choice.
Thank you. And I have the great joy to be here and facilitate this conversation. My name is Minola Jac. I'm a journalist by trade. I'm a change practitioner by choice. In my full-time employment, I'm a global change and transformation lead with one of the ag-tech players based in Basel in Switzerland. But I've been working with Hacking HR for close to 5 years now, and I am here representing them as their global ambassador. So it's a huge gift being here and sharing this time with all of you, and especially all of you joining us remotely. Let's create a little bit of context for our conversation. And Suzanne brought some highlights from our deep dive and how we looked at utopia and dystopia and what is happening in our workplaces at the moment. Now, taking that one step further, when we say the new world of work, what do we mean? What are some of the big trends? And then there are some extra points available for some subtle undercurrents that you can bring into the conversation. And Bill, you're seated right next to me, so could you lead us into this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the new world of work means flexibility, like I said earlier. So that's remote work, that's hybrid work, that's really investing into the whole employee experience and what that looks like. So well-being, just ensuring that we as leaders can do what it takes to create a place where people are excited to come to work on a daily basis.
Thank you.
I think it's up to you, Chris, now.
Well, we can do it like this.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, when we look out the kind of future of work, I'm going to kind of use the word potential because I think that is what we stand at the precipice of, is potential. And we've unfortunately completely overlooked human potential for so many, actually centuries, hundreds of years. We've been far too focused on rigid, on logical, deductive, rational thinking, and we've not brought ourselves to work. And we live in such a disruptive, chaotic world, and I would actually argue that that disruption is only just beginning, by the way. And what we need to be able to do is fulfill that potential and be able to bring our whole selves to the workplace that we live in, a rehumanization process. And when we do that, we really do start to bring all of the incredible benefits that we humans can bring, but we've asked basically our teams and employees to leave at the door.
Well, in my opinion, the future of work, we cannot avoid the words artificial intelligence, technology, but I am also a little bit critic about artificial intelligence because I think it promised too much. So far, it promised too much. So anyway, I believe that to survive in that future, whatever it will be, whatever artificial intelligence and new technology can bring to a different way of working, I think we still need people. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to be here. But, and what I bring with this, I think we are in a very critical moment where, that's why I choose experience, where we need to experience what will be to work in the future with AI and all the tools that we have available at the moment. And I know that in some organizations, I'm not saying companies, but in some organizations, I still have the feeling that people, at least leadership people, the leaders of the company, whoa, artificial intelligence, don't touch that. It will be dangerous for our business or for the way we have been doing things for the last 20 years. So that's why I feel that we as HR leaders have a very, very, very important role in this. We should be change provocators or provocadores. We should be change provocators. There was a time where HR should be change facilitators. Now we should not only facilitate change, but also initiate and provoke that change. And that's why I believe that one of our roles is we should help our employees, because there is this trend that bring your own devices and people are bringing their own AI tools to the companies. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they are using it, but they are hiding that they are using because it's kind of forbidden to do something so different, so innovative. And I think we should break that barrier and bring experience into the workplace. And I believe that it will help AI and technology bring their promises, because I'm critic. For now, I believe AI is not delivering the promise that was made a few months ago.
Well, on this very optimistic note.
Yeah, I'm optimistic, but so far it's not there.
I would really love to take a few minutes and look into, is there such a thing as an HR flavor to agility and adaptability? And I'm particularly interested in Chris's leading this part of the conversation, because you're not from within HR. So to you, what is the HR flavor of agility and adaptability?
Yeah, thanks for picking on me. I think probably it's, to me, it's about how do you allow that individual to bring their talents to the fore. So when we start looking at some of the problems we see in HR or kind of organizations, we have everything from, I don't know, kind of diversity and inclusion, we have well-being, you know, all these big topics. And therefore, in a state of chaos, we have to be able to come back to what we're designed for. So, I mean, let's just take our nervous system. Sorry, you thought this was going to be a HR talk. I'm now going to go into neuroscience. But we are designed for an era which we no longer live in. We're perfectly designed to an era about 100,000 years ago. And we've completely changed the environment we operate in. And that brings its own problems. Thankfully, we are perhaps the most adaptable, creative, and innovative creatures to ever have walked this earth. The caveat to that is when we're at our best. So the challenge of HR is how do you bring that version of each member of a team to the workplace? Because when you do, it's not only are you embracing things like psychological safety, which are key to this, but you're also embracing that playfulness part. You're allowing people to be flexible, step back from situations which could engulf them. You are allowing them to bring weird and wacky thoughts which lead to incredible breakthroughs or innovation. To me, the challenge for HR is how do you facilitate that? How do you bring that about? And actually, if you manage to do that, you solve many of the other problems which circle around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, people from within HR, what would you like to add to this?
Well, I agree with you. And one of my premises is that it's more about culture add versus culture fit. Culture fit is monoculture, same. You went to Harvard, oh my God, I went to Harvard. It's not about that. It's about people who align with the values of your organization. So as an employer, it's important for us to look for people who align with their values. And then from there, step back and say what's missing from our organization. And when you find those, whatever the amount of things are, you then seek out people who align with your values, but also can add a diverse perspective, a diverse experience, and that will help you innovate, that'll help you grow, which are the things that we need to do to be, the differentiator between our competitors when it comes to driving those key things, innovation and growth.
I will totally not facilitate, but provocate. I think we have a more important role as HR in the leading HR in the companies. Today, to go faster, I think it's not only facilitate. We should provocate the agility thinking, the heading culture and technology, experience technology, bringing optimization to the workplace, help people doing mistakes, learn with mistakes, praise the mistakes. I use this image of when children start to walk. When our babies start to walk, they fall. It's not immediately, and they do mistakes. That's why they fall. And what we do? Do we punish them? We don't punish them. We praise their efforts to try again, and eventually everyone do the walking thing, So I think we should not treat our employees as children, of course, but I think we should be creating this environment in the companies to help people at least experience it, try it, and make it. If there is a mistake, let's contain the risks and contain the damages, but at the same time, try again. Let's praise the trying, That's what I think companies without this mindset of agility, they will for sure not thrive in this new world of work.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for sure.
So I will ask the participants in our deep dive to keep me honest and help my memory out. But one thing that kept popping up during the conversations was recruitment.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one of the groups that worked on Utopia, they sold us this dream of being able to recruit the best people within 2 days. And one of the groups working on dystopia, they talked about the driver towards dystopia being hired to retire. So people wanting to go for jobs that will keep them basically safe and stagnant and complacent. So, Bill, I know that recruitment is a sweet spot of yours, and you already scratched the surface with a bit of a culture ed. Now, could you go a little bit deeper? And what are some of the questions that you field from your clients on a daily basis around recruitment that touch on agility and adaptability?
How can I find people? There's no one that's out there that's available, which is completely false. There's more than enough talent out there, but we were sort of speaking about this earlier. I think a lot of leaders are a little bit older, and they have a certain mindset about how things should work, how the process should work, and there's no real framework on how they select candidates. And so when you're just going by a hope and a prayer, or I'm not sure, I don't know what it is about them, but I just don't like them. There's no clear path to getting and finding talent. And so one of the things I need to do, and that I do, is share with them how you need to be able to pivot quickly and respond to change, and have a clear process that'll help map out how you can find your talent. I think I lost the thread there, but what was the rest of the question?
What are some of the questions that you get from your customers around recruitment?
So how can I find talent? How can I determine if this person is actually the best fit for my organization? How can I ensure that they're going to stay with us forever? How can I make sure that they're going to follow the plan that I give them? How can I, if they're remote or hybrid, how can I actually keep them engaged? How can I ensure that they're going to understand our culture? I think I just listed off like 20 things, but those are the questions that I get quite a bit, and clearly it's my role to try to help convey paths to help them get there.
Any thoughts, Helder?
Well, this morning I lost a candidate because it took me 1 week to take the decision to hire him.
True.
I think it's the best. I have to do something about it. It was a function that was not very highly technological, very skills. I liked the candidates, but my process of recruiting, it didn't work. So 1 week, and now this morning I just received the email saying not available anymore. So let's start again. So I think that agility is now, I've been thinking since I received the email, I've been thinking I need to do something different, because I'm pretty sure that if on the day that in my mind, in my gut, I decided that that person was a good fit for our cultural environment, for the team where he was working, he was seen by the potential manager, he was seen by a manager working next to him. All of us three, we liked the guy, and we lost him this morning because we just took more than 7 days to take the decision.
One of the things that I find, not to interrupt you, is that when you are very, very clear with the candidate about the process, how long it's going to take, more times than not, they're willing to wait it out. But if there's an unclear plan, if it's going to take 14 days, and you honor your commitment to them and say, here are the 5 things that we do. Step 1's this, you'll hear back here, there, etc. They're willing to wait, but there's so many opportunities for candidates out there that it's true. If you don't have a plan and you've not communicated that communication plan to them, they don't know what to do. So they're going to accept something that's in front of them versus, will this guy want to hire me? And that's in his case or anyone's case when they're out there. You have to sometimes over communicate with the candidate. That's the things that I hear from people when I'm speaking to them. And one of the tools that we use with all of our clients is, after every single interview, we send them 3 questions and ask them about the experience, and we continually refine our process to ensure that we're giving them the candidate experience that they want. And that's part of the process to ensure that it's very white glove, and you're finding the most qualified talent for your organization.
Looping it back to you, Helder.
Yeah, but we in our case, I think, again, bringing the subject of this session, we were not agile enough. That's it. Everything, it was clear. It was just a kind of too many people involved, which I believe it was one of the critical factors that led us to lose these candidates. And again, agility. I think what I learned today is that, okay, you are called into a session to talk about agility, and you are just receiving an email with a mistake that you have to learn with, and it's related to agility. And I'm pretty sure that from tomorrow, as soon as I arrive at the office, things will be different. Too many people involved.
Yeah.
And maybe a lack of communication. We were not clear about the timing of the process. I regret it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a learning lesson, clearly.
Chris, any opportunity for playfulness to come into this recruitment solution?
Yeah, I think kind of what I've been hearing, and it's interesting not being part of HR listening to this. I'm thankful I'm not part of HR. No, I'm joking. But what's really interesting is we want to, from a kind of a behavioral point of view, we want to make very agile, fast decisions, think on our feet. We don't actually want to make knee-jerk reactions. That's not a great decision. And so there's a sweet spot. That's what we're talking about. And this is where we start talking about, well, what assists us in making that decision? What perhaps holds us back? And there's lots of things. There can be fear, there can be stress, there can just be too much bureaucracy in there. And so from a playfulness point of view, what playfulness allows us to do, I mean, if you think about playing and playfulness are different. But if we think about playing, there's this massive feedback loop. There is also time challenges and everything else. And therefore, you can actually start adopting, if you can adopt the playfulness mindset, you naturally become agile. Because playfulness, when we look at this from an evolutionary point of view, what it does is it is our adaptability mechanism. It's how we learn. It's how we adapt to a new situation. It's actually why we hopefully learn from failures and feedback. We actually learn very little from success. And so we have to start not only embracing kind of failures, but perhaps going to your point, creating them. I'm not talking about major failure. Don't close down a company tomorrow and see what happens. But small failures. And in that kind of very disruptive, very chaotic environment, playfulness can exist. And coming back to this, it can help us find that sweet spot of decision making, where we're highly connected to what's going on and ourselves, but we're also being able to move very fast.
Well, we also talked about behaviors, especially behaviors that surface during times of uncertainty and change. And we had a little bit of fun with some acronyms. And one of those acronyms was SOS, which anyone remembers what SOS stands for from the deep dive? Shiny object syndrome. Well done. Yeah, so we talked about the shiny object syndrome, which basically speaks about leaders who behave as the organizational magpies. And they say, we will do this, and then we will do this, and this, and this, and there's another change. And then they will just misabuse the label agile, when in reality they can become quite fragile because they don't allow for things to mature. They don't allow for learnings and lessons and even failures to come up and learn from them. So with all this going on, with a lot of leadership behaviors inside the organizations, we also talked about mindset this morning. Let's move to skill set. We said that change happens when we sit on a three-legged stool: mindset, skill set, and tool set. And we will come back to the tool set in just a little while. But when we talk about the skill sets, what are some of the key skills and the key capabilities within HR that underpin agility and adaptability? And Helder, I know this is something you're passionate about.
Skills that we miss to bring the...
Skills that help us augment agility and adaptability in HR.
Well, I think one of the I think, I don't know if it's called a skill, but one of the things that I believe that stop companies to, well, it's one of the signs that bring companies to stop to being flexible, agile, and bring innovation, is when leadership, middle managers, which is a very, very important role in the companies, they treat people not like adults. I believe that in Portugal, you have to have 18 years old to start working. There's an exception, but typically 18 after. So at 18, you are an adult. And so we tend, in most of the companies, to treat people not like adults, but like children. So they don't have capacity or skills to decide. On the other side, they buy houses, they buy cars, they make financial decisions on their own lives, but they are not able, for example, to buy a pen or a device to work in the company. So, and if you have this mindset of treating people not like adults, but being adults, what happens is that people will not behave like adults. And so this is kind of a vicious circle. And I believe that, let's say, one of the main skills is to bring the capacity for middle managers to lead their people in a very different way, not to treat people not like an adult because they are adults. Otherwise, they will not be in the company. And I think, I don't know what is the name of this skill, treat people like adults. Maybe it's a new skill. But believe me, again, I have 4 children. That's why I talk a lot about children. If you treat your children like adults, they tend to behave like adults. If you treat your children like children, they will be children forever.
What's really interesting, if I can jump in there, is I think you're right, but it's interesting that we have to actually split apart what we mean by how we treat them like children. Mm-hmm. Because on one aspect, we know full well, I'm going to bring this back to playfulness, we know full well that we need to actually, for the social development of a child, instill play and playfulness. It's a fundamental part of social development, emotional development, physical development, and that's why it's in almost every developed country's national curriculum. It's interesting you're using that because what we're talking about there is we're treating them as parents, not as in kind of developing the playfulness. So yeah, I kind of agree with what you're saying, but wouldn't it be amazing if we actually still treated them as that part, but it was more about fostering playfulness? So we're removing the parent aspect, and we're just fundamentally going that you never stop learning, you never stop developing, and I'm going to help you on that journey of enrichment. I mean, that would be phenomenal, because we do have this very weird relationship with playfulness, that we know it's important as a kid, and then we become an adult, and we just go, okay, I've decided I'm going to be stressed and serious.
Chris will be seated in the utopia table.
Chris can have a utopia table all for himself.
Treating people like adults doesn't mean that they stop their development right there. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure that in this room, if you look at your company, if you look at your leaders, or even look at yourself as a leader, and put your hand in your consciences and tell me if there is any example of you treating people not like an adult, and they are adults. I do this exercise a lot of times, and I do it even if I say the opposite, but anyway.
For me, I think it's being able to receive feedback and act upon it. That's one of the biggest challenges that I see a lot in organizations when I tell leaders that micromanagement doesn't work. Obviously, no one here wants to be micromanaged, maybe very few people, but we need to be able to be clear in our trust of employees and give them tools and resources to be able to follow up, having your Scrum meetings, being clear about what the next step is, small chunks to get the work done. But many times, and more so over the last 10 years or so, I see when leaders are giving feedback to employees, they receive it not the right way, and they don't know how to act upon it. And so it's about making sure that we provide resources and trust and allowing them to sort of fail forward, even when they don't understand. If that makes any sense.
It does make sense, and I would like to add a skill to the table of this conversation, but it comes with a story, and probably Bill will not give me a ride anymore anytime in the future, because it was inspired by a conversation we had while we came to this wonderful location from the hotel. So we talked about spicy food.
Spicy food.
But then we also ended up talking about this wonderful book called The Medici Effect that talks about how the Renaissance came about in Florence. And we actually challenged a saying that we are all familiar with great minds think alike. And we ended up discussing about how we should actually say great minds think differently. And one of the skills that I would like to bring into this conversation, and it's an ongoing journey for a change practitioner, is the ability to hold a paradox and the ability to hold very different opinions as equally true and equally valid at the same time. So one of the things that I keep saying in my change workshops is that if we look at different things, we will end up looking at things differently. And I can think of another skill that has helped me more in my journey through agility and adaptability than the ability to hold paradox or to hold very different points of view as equally valid. Now, there are extra points available for a bonus round on the skills and capabilities topic. Can you think of something, of a skill that is not normally immediately associated with agility and adaptability, but it enhances it tremendously? And I will give you a few seconds to think about, just enough to tell all the wonderful people in the audience the question is equally open to you. So can you think of a skill that underpins agility and adaptability, but is not within the circle of usual suspects? Anything at all?
I've got one if you want me to start. The ones who are in the playful management session will know all about this because we spent quite a lot of time. Now, you heard the summary of Ben and Jerry's lightheartedness, but there's another side to playfulness, which is whimsical. And whimsicalness is the noticing of obscure, of novel, of seeing things just beyond the kind of the normal box that you live in. Google's very good at cultivating whimsical playfulness, by the way. They're 20% of work time, where you can focus on activities which are half Google-ish and half personal preference. That invites and cultivates whimsical playfulness. And so that is a skill. And what it leads to is we live in a world now where we focus so much on being hyper-specialists, like kind of to the point that, I mean, this starts from like the moment you leave school, doesn't it? That you kind of go, okay, well, I left school, now we're going to do this degree, and we're going to do this master's, and we do this PhD, and then I'm going to specialize after that in this tiny little area. But from an adaptability and an agile point of view, being able to step back from the granular and see the big picture is a fundamental part of being able to move between things. So it's moving away from silos. It's being able to reorientate yourself so you can find new perspectives, because then you can actually start to find other possibilities, other solutions, rather than be rigid in one. And whimsical playfulness assists in that. So I'm going to deliver that. If you haven't trained in whimsical playfulness, you need to.
Wonderful.
Well, I would say empathy, because I think empathy is something that will help also on the agility way of working, because most of the blockers of performance and innovation and all of that comes from not being empathic and understand the other side of the conversation. Of course, we are humans, we have different opinions, and not being able to understand, like you said, to understand the context of the other person. Maybe you think about the same thing, you just say it differently in a different perspective. But if you don't develop this empathy, and if you are always listening just to answer and not listening to understand, I think those, I would say empathy with this context.
Yeah. And I specifically love the call out to listen to understand, do not listen to reply.
Yeah, yeah.
That's wonderful. Bill?
I think diverse perspectives, because that helps drive and fuel the innovation, which goes along with pivoting quickly, responding to change. Those things aren't necessarily thought of initially, but when you have varying perspectives, you then can perhaps move a little quicker, change a little faster. So.
Yeah. I did get inspired by what you shared, and if you will indulge me, I will share a short story with you, another short story. I mean, it's right there, you were fair warned. I'm a storyteller advocate, so you get that side of me today. One other skill that I thought about was the ability to ask questions. And for some reason, we got curiosity educated out of us, that boundless, just infinite curiosity. And we were sold on the promise that the power is in the answers, where the magic happens with asking all the questions. And the wonderful stories about how Leonardo da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa with questions. The story is that Leonardo got obsessed with lots of different things while he was painting his Mona Lisa. So he got obsessed with what happens when the light hits the retina, and there were 5 or 6 versions of the painting. Then, what are the muscles involved in a smile? And another 5 or 6 versions emerged. Or what happens to the experience of the people who look at the picture when the objects in the background are fuzzy and something that is front and center is very, very sharp. And many other things piqued Leonardo's curiosity. So actually the version that people go to the Louvre and still say, oh, I think it was bigger, it's very small, it's actually about the 18th or 19th version of the painting. So imagine if Leonardo hadn't had all these questions and all these quests, and being so agile and adaptable in following them, we would have had probably a different version of Mona Lisa. We will never know if better or worse. Now, we do have a painfully little time left, so it will be a punchline wrap-up round. What is one takeaway in one short sentence that you would like to leave with our audience today? When they think about adaptability and agility, what would you leave them with?
Well, I would like to add some value to what you said in a different perspective. I have this principle in my life that, because of the questions, assumptions are mother of all of our problems. As long as you have a problem in your life or in your company, do like 3 or 4 questions, go back and see where someone took an assumption. And probably you only need to go back 3 steps. All the big mistakes we do, I believe that if we do, ask why we decided like this, and why, and why. And so 3 times, assumptions are a mother of all our problems. I don't say it like that. It's a little bit more vernacular, but it's like that.
Thank you. One sentence, one key takeaway.
Follow the energy. We can talk a lot about academic bits of playfulness, but if we follow the energy, we have the most incredible insights into if something is right or wrong, if we're bringing our full selves to it, or we're hiding ourselves in the closet while we're doing a task. So follow the energy.
Thank you.
Diverse perspectives fuel growth and innovation.
Thank you. Bill, Chris, Helder, thank you so very much. Thank you everyone for being here today. And